Okay, so we've got now these extra exercises to finish everything off, or finish this exercise off. And really this is a good chance to put into practice a lot of the things that you've just been practicing. And so you'll see in the notes, it does finish off by saying, we're telling you to use the ellipse tool, just to draw a couple of different ellipses. I'll show you that very quickly. So, very easy. On the draw panel, you see the ellipse button over on the right, basically an oval, and there are a few different methods. There are basically two main methods that you can use. Don't worry about the last one. Well, if you, that's another screen for now. Unfortunately, I can't get to it for the time being. So, okay, so I'll try the first one. It's fairly intuitive. You click on that centre option, click a centre point. It doesn't matter what size the ellipse is at first. Just click a centre point, move the cursor to the right to give the first radius, and then move the cursor up or down to set your second value, or your second, well, it's really a radius in a way. And we've got an ellipse. It's that easy. It's good just to practice, so you can just have another go at it if you want to, it doesn't matter. And if you want to, you can type in a measurement. So in the example there, you can see it's got a measurement 529. So you can type that in, it works. And just like anything else, you can always select it afterwards and use those grips to adjust any of those sizes. And I'll try the other method using axis end. So you can see there, instead of giving a centre point, we click on the end of the ellipse, and then the other end, and then, so we've got the two sides, and then again up and down to set the height, I suppose. That easy. Whatever size you want. I'm not fussed about any of those sizes, the ellipses especially. So then what I really wanted to get onto was drawing these more complex shapes. So again, it's a good chance to put into practice the things steps you've been using. And so this one, I think you'll be able to work out once I've shown you how to do this one. So I'll start with this one. I'll let you work out the arrow. The arrow is actually fairly easy. But this one is a bit more involved, mostly because you've got all these maybe slightly unusual angles. So I'll start on this corner point here. And it doesn't matter where you draw, I'm just going to draw it anywhere. So clicking the line tool, I'm going to click a point to start drawing. Then I'll just bring up the image there so you can see, and unfortunately it's a bit too low. Okay, so this is the point that I've started. And I want to begin with this diagonal line. And notice that you're given two measurements, those two 500 measurements. You're not given an angle, but that's okay. We can get that angle, the angle of that line, by telling it we want to go across 500 and up 500. Anyone want to be brave and guess what the angle would be? Yeah, it's 45. Exactly. When you get two even distances, it's always going to be 45 degrees. Okay, so we can get a 45 degree line without typing in any angle. We just type in 500, comma, 500. And there we are. So next we've got so it's just drawing lines. Line tool, yep, line tool, click a point and type 500, comma 500. So that's the first line. The next line's also at an angle, but it's going to the left. So it's 500, but it's not 500 to the right, it's 500 to the left. So what do you think we do to make it go to the left instead of the right? Yeah, well, if we were doing it the way you were before, but type in coordinates, what would you do to make it exactly minus? That's it, you make it negative, right? So left is negative, right is positive for x. So x is always first, I should have said that. X is first, y is second. So x is our distance left and right. So I'm going to make it minus 500, comma, what was it? 1050. Is our y, or our distance up and down. In this case, because it's positive, it's going to go up. Right, so then there's our next angled line. Now I want to go back to using polar, because this is just a straight line. So I can make it go to the right, and then type in the distance. You can see 2000 Right, so notice it's different. I'm not typing in an X and a Y. There's no comma, it's just one number, and that's why it uses the direction that the cursor's going to give the angle. If you type the X and the Y, it doesn't matter where your cursor is. Okay, and that's the difference. So if it's just one number, it knows to use the angle that you've set with your mouse, basically. Okay, so now from now on, well, we want to use a few different options here. I'm going to use polar, but we've got that there, it's 65 degrees. Now, you could of course type in the coordinates. You probably realise it's symmetrical. So we could type in the coordinates that we used before, and I'm sure you can work that out. It'd be negative 500, comma, negative 1050. But I want to use the angles. At the moment though, polar is set to 90 degrees. So remember that polar icon's the one with the circle and the little angle? So if we click on the arrow next to it, that gives us a setting for those angles. So it's on 90. I'm going to take it all the way down to 5. So now you can see as I move my cursor, it's snapping, instead of every 90 degrees, it's snapping every 5 degrees. So notice it goes 90, 95, 100, 105, 110 and so on. So, before I said, has anyone done maths recently? Because you need to do a little bit here to work out this angle. So, what's the angle that we've got on the drawing? Right, 65 degrees. Where's that measured from? From this line. Right, so we're coming from that line down 65 degrees. So that line, it's already at 180 degrees. Maybe we better go through the full compass. So remember 0 is to the right, up, straight up. Notice we're going anti-clockwise. So up is 90 degrees. To the left is 180. Does anyone still ride skateboards? If you've done a 180, that means turning around. Okay, so that's the opposite to 0, is 180. And then coming down from there, 180 plus 65, 245. So now, if you remember before that method I showed you to track, we can pick up the corner point there, the end point of that point that we've already established, moving to the right. So notice how it's projecting from that point, because I don't know how long this line is. I have to do some trigonometry to work that out, but I don't have to. I can just find that angle, 245, and project from the other corner. And what's the number? 1158.465468. Who cares? We don't have to do the maths. AutoCAD does it for us. We just need to understand how we're getting to these points. So as long as I've got the 245 degrees and I'm projecting from that other point, I'm going to get a line that's the length I want. Okay, so I can use the same method now to get this final point again, hovering on that end point, over to the right, and then we'll come down, this time 45 degrees. And then back to the left. So, yeah, it's a brilliant thing. I mean, I've done trigonometry, but I haven't had to use those formulas for 20 years because AutoCAD will do it all for you. It draws more accurately than you ever need to take your measurements, and it does all the hard work for you, but you just need to understand how it's getting there. We'll go further into coordinates next week, but if you can do that one, the arrow that's up above, I won't tell you all the steps, but it's much, much easier. So I will just do it quickly on the fly without telling you how I'm doing it. And I'm sure you can work that out. Actually, I will tell you a couple of things because the way that the measurements have been given to you, you won't find it very easy to just draw the outline of that arrow. So I will give you a bit of a tip. Don't be afraid to draw in extra lines if you think you need them. Okay, so I've drawn across 250. Now I might draw the arrow. So that's this this one up here. Okay, so the way the measurements are given to you, it's not going to be very easy to just draw around the outside. So what I'm going to do is draw the parts I know I can do easily. Right, so these are all 250 in orthographic or 90-degree angles. But then we don't have a length for this line or this one. We've got the distance from the centre instead. So like I said, don't be afraid to draw in extra lines and essentially work it out as you're drawing it. So I'm going to come back and draw a new line from, well, okay, I want to draw from the middle there. I'm going to have to show you one step here that's not in the notes. I need to snap to the middle of that line. Did they show you midpoint? Oh, perfect, yeah, good. Okay, so one really important setting down here on your object snap. So that's this one with the square with the asterisk. There's another arrow there. And you just need to tick midpoint. Okay, so now I'm going to go, and you can see I can snap to the midpoint, that triangle. And I'm going to come across 250. And then come across again 625. Right, so that's an extra line. I'll delete that afterwards. Now, because I've got polar on, I can simply snap to, well, I want 45 degrees, but 45 from here. So again, thinking about our angles, it's 90 degrees plus 45, which is 135. Your eyes will tell you usually if you like, but it's good to, again, think a little bit about the maths. So 135, now I could either use that tracking method or I could make it longer than it needs to be and then trim it back afterwards. I think I'll show you the tracking method. So, right, so tracking that point there, then I can come back 135 and then down to here. Yeah, that's a great thing with AutoCAD. It's all about precision and it makes it easier. Yeah, when things are precise, so much easier. So same for the bottom. Okay, so now I can delete those extra lines. Again, don't be afraid to draw in extra lines. There'll be other ways of drawing in even more extra lines that might make it even easier. Okay, so maybe we'll very quickly look at the last one because I use the same method. So I'll go back. Mirror. Copy wouldn't work. Yeah. Okay, I'll show you mirror. So, because yeah, it's good to start looking at some of these other commands. Okay, so I've gotten that far, and now it's obviously a mirror image on the bottom. So I'll select those lines. Might just do it by clicking on them just so I don't have to go through selection. And then mirrors up on that modify panel. So with mirror, you need to give a mirror line. So the mirror line is actually this line in the middle. So I can click on either end of it and then go to the other end. You can see there how it works. That's the mirror line. Yeah. So you can do it at any angle, but we want it to be straight. But notice how it then is going to ask you if you want to erase the source object. So you need to tell it yes or no. So that's right. No, we don't want to delete them. So N for no or enter because that's the default, but I'll type N. And there we are. So the last little one, that thing, that funny rectangle with the curve on it, I'll show you that quickly and then give some time to finish this off. So, yeah. So here we'll go across, 1,000. Oops. Okay, I didn't get the right angle. Now, you can always undo just like I did there. Try again. Okay, so I've drawn the three sides of that shape. I've left the part with the curve because I'll come back now. And which arc option do you think might work well for that? If we need to draw this arc here, what do we know about it? Oh, that's crazy. Oh God, okay, that's a lot of work. Okay, there's an easier way. Yeah, there are good times to use that circle method, but not with this one. It's, yeah, not the easiest. There's a much easier way. Okay, so there's a special option for that. So going to the arc menu, we know the start point, we know the end point, and we know the radius. Okay, so start end radius. Okay, so I click the start point, I've clicked the end point, and then the radius is 406. That's a weird one, but that's what it is. Yeah. Start end radius. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There's lots of different ways. It's good to try different methods. I'll show you the circle method later. Yeah, I'll do it again. Okay, so here it's start end radius. So first point, second point, and type in 406. In this case, yeah. To give the direction that that radius goes. Otherwise it'll go the other way, but we'll show you how to change the direction later. So? Yeah. Exactly, that's right, yes. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So that's it. The one with the filled in circle, don't worry if you don't get that done, we can have a look at that next week anyway. That's only a little thing. But otherwise, that should be everything. So see if you can get finish those off today. And I'll touch on exercise 2, but we can do most of that next week.